Hello students, welcome to ePathshala. My name is Ashima Gupta and I am an assistant professor in Government College for Girls, Sector 42, Chandigarh. This paper is precisely going to tell you about the policy making process in India. Till 1980s, the term governance and government were used interchangeably. It is only because of the arise of complex relationship between state, market and civil society that governance has acquired a meaning of its own. Various scholars have tried to interpret it from time to time. After the collapse of Soviet Union, the concept of welfare state emerged, and after that, World Bank published its report on good governance. Because of this, governance actually became a central theme in various disciplines of social sciences such as public administration, psychology and sociology. This paper is precisely going to tell you about the evolution of this concept and its validity in the current time. Objectives: discussion about historical background of Indian governance, to understand the role of governance in contemporary public policy in India, to make critical assessment of political and contested nature of public policy in India. Definitional scope of governance. It refers to a set of institutions and actors including the government amidst blurred boundaries and responsibilities. So, governance analysis involves exploration of the processes of designing and enforcing rules for the pursuit of public good, its changing political practice, and the implication these practices have on political rules of the game. It is more concerned with outcome than just institutional arrangements, with states still being capable of steering society due to its control of critical resources and epitomizing collective interests, defining objectives and relationship between actors involved in governance. With the emergence of the right to development approach, politics of socio-economic right re-emerged as it was recognized that apart from technical soundness of programs, the political context also matters. Analysts and development practitioners also turned to society as the anchor of development, taking a cue from Robert Putnam's analysis of the role civic associations in Italy and have undertook to critique civil society and social capital as significant anchors of development. In 2005, the bank, using a circular logic, argued that growth was central for addressing issues of inequality, which is needed to provide stability to growth. However, discussion remained about avenues to capture the inherently multidimensional and group-based nature of inequality to create mechanisms ensuring greater degree of equality of opportunity using market mechanism. The role of development in realizing human freedoms made development concerned with enhancing our lives and freedoms we enjoy. It involves both the processes, collective action and decision that allow freedom and the actual opportunity structure that people have. Governance therefore refer to a pluralized policy environment with states' role limited to coordinating public action by managing self-governing reflexive policy networks. It facilitates dialogue and consensus within these networks to facilitate better collective decisions through which public policy is formulated and implemented. Governance is about managing rules of the game in order to enhance the legitimacy of the public realm, wherein legitimacy is derived from democratic and efficiency public policy forms. Governance as a process focuses its attention on process and outcome rather than the formal institutional arrangement. Therefore, governance is more concerned with outcome that institutional arrangements lead to rather than just institutions that determine the role government plays in governance. Governance analysis of Indian public policy. The process of rise of the modern liberal state in India saw democratic governance through liberal institutions, not an outcome of class conflicts, as popular democracy preceded the rise of liberal institutions. The resulting state formation was slightly different as the agenda of socio-economic change was not the prerogative of technocratic elite, but as highly contested political issue. Secondly, there exists a growing consensus emphasizing the government's obligation to deliver certain benefits to the population at large, that security and welfare of the population are independent of the consideration of participation in the sovereignty of the state making. The fallout of stability of this balance reflected in the fluctuating policies. The 1950s saw the emphasis on use of community as a spatial and social unit of development targeted through community development programs. By late 1960s, early 1970s, in the wake of the Green Revolution and populist slogan of Garibi Hatao, attention shifted to target group approach for vulnerable social group and integrated schemes for sectoral trust. Historical background of Indian governance. In India, as noted above, public policy was never an exclusively state prerogative but was increasingly contested in electoral politics and yet over limited issues. The first wave of the theoretical debate established that state system in India is patterned and influenced by social forces and the boundary between the state and the state is blurred, porous and mobile. Initial works on the dynamics of the post-independence Indian state-society relation were first taken up in the 1950s and 60s in work of F.G. Bele, M.N. Srinivas, Rajni Kothari. However, it was not until the 1980s anthropological work traced out the pattern of state-society interaction which illuminates our understanding about the structural effects of the state in the works of Atul Kohli, Subrata K. Mitra, Barbara Harris White and Stuart Corbridge et al. The elite-based Indian National Congress under Gandhi adopted an accommodationalist ideology that eschewed class conflict, emphasized class conciliation. There was an unanimous consensus across all ideologies about a positive and interventionist role of state on behalf of the poor and needy. Democratic access of power implied opening up of political space to involve masses for seeking their legitimacy through adult franchise, party system, trade unions, competitive politics, local self-governance and cooperatives. As democratic institutions sank deeper roots, changes in power structure brought about by the limited success of public policy eroded the vertical disintegration. At the same time, even as the poor were made aware of social and ethnic conflict by politics of electoral democracy, state failed to resolve the with transformatory policies given its limited autonomy. This led to the erosion of the capacity of state to provide for the institutional framework to arbitrate and reconcile conflict, legitimizing ideology to build national consensus and weave diverse regional elements harmoniously. For political sociologists of structural, functional and neo-Marxist tradition, these conflicts emanated from a disjunction in the subjective and objective aspects of social order. That is, the prevailing social order fails to legitimize the existing division of labor. So the crisis is explained in terms of emanating from the decline in traditional values accompanying economic development that sharpening inequalities and creates awareness about these inequities. Thus, they neglect the autonomous significance of the political factors. In these approaches, democratic access to resource-rich and interventionist Indian state and its contestation in electoral democracy was seen as playing a crucial role in shaping the dynamic of conflict. With these points in mind, it was further argued that the level of governance in India is shaped by state's ability to transform social actors into stakeholders and the perception of its sanction, welfare and trust amongst concerned actors. As democratic institutions deepened horizontally as well as vertically, these political negotiations emerged as the core of governance mechanism shaping the India public policy and its practice. It is in this light that the modules take up the governance analysis of contemporary public policy in India. The contemporary governance of public policy in India. The works on Indian state in the 21st century, like those by Mitra, Harris White, Chatterjee, Corbridge, have all focused the local state across India. While Mitra focuses on the role of local elite in the process of socio-economic change in India, Harris White looks at the working of the shadow state in India. Across all these work, the state is understood through the relationship between the ideas, institutions, and practices of state. At the same time, the ways in which technologies of rule are made into reality depends on the manner in which they are interpreted and implemented by government officials and elected representatives. The way government works in practice has to draw upon the sighting of the state by the poor, its own agents, and the larger developmental communities. Given the derived nature of much of discourse of governance in India, governmental policy documents reflect a combination, both the economic growth based neoliberal approach and the capability based human development approach. The academic constituents of the discourse of governance in India, reflecting a similar derived and reactive nature, have broadly focused on issues coverage, efficacy, and reach of governance initiatives. Its contestation through the politics of recognitions and redistribution and the institutional anchor for this process embedded in its socio-political context. Accordingly, a series of policy reforms to achieve a state that is market-friendly are recommended. Critical examination of the delivery process also received scholarly attention. Herein, reforming delivery mechanism was seen as a complex process, dependent on contextual factors such as the history of reform ideas, the capacity of the state, its nature including relationship with key actors. It involved rearranging of relationship among key actors by adjusting their expectations and perceptions. The contemporary discourse of governance in India remains closely linked to global trends and thus is an integrated part of the global discourse. Yet there are few contra trends as well, like the rise of neo-Keynesianism as reflected in policies like MG-Narega, NRHM and RTE. Programs for employment, health and education funded and administered by state agencies. Besides, while the global consensus stresses non-state and corporate actors, the Indian developmental policy stresses politically constituted local governance structures as anchors of development policy. Thus, in India, it is still believed that the role that state and its agencies should play in socio-economic change are dominant as state anchors claims of social justice and the patterns of its authority, political organization and use of state power decisively influences the economic context and shapes regional developmental dynamics. Thus, in dissonance with neoliberal market mechanism of allocations, the state persists at various levels with plural trajectory of policy outcomes, depending on political mobilization and the context at the sub-national level in India. Amidst growing importance of sub-national structures in governance, the relatively young Panchayati Raj institutions of local governance have generated a lot of expectations. Seen as institutions of local democracy as well as anchors of socio-economic transformation, they structure the access of marginalized sections to the institutions of local governance and their control over developmental resources as well as the processes through which developmental funds are allocated, contested and accessed by the poorer sections of the population are analyzed. Many of these analyses and writings engage with the complex dynamics of local governance and development as well as their multifaceted relationship with identity, gender, and state. Scholars have also examined the political context of decentralization to argue that the context shaped the way that decentralization evolved and its potential role in equity and efficiency effects. In addition to formal institutions of local governance, new institutional forms have begun to populate local areas. Loosely clubbed under the generic phrase of civil society, often constructed as an arena of virtue, critical analysis, has generally focused on their role in democratization, policy process, and its relationship to citizenship. Its developmental role, though acknowledged, has been a subject of much less critical analysis, save as a policy prescription, and cannot be ignored. In the resource contested, if not resource deficit political economy of India, the question of development is a central issue of political mobilization and contestation between various politically active groups. The use of political power for the weaker section is seen to be legitimate developmental politics, but increasing democratization and political competition makes it difficult for the government to implement redistributive policies. Still, arguments are made to ensure the recognition and representation of these groups to ensure equitable redistribution. Thus, in the Indian case, the two quests, that of identity recognition and that of socio-economic change, have been inextricably intertwined in political process. One cannot be seen to be displacing the other, perhaps even to a limited extent. It is this complex dynamics of the politics of identity and development that seems to anchor much of India's democratic experience. It is also here that issues of public authority and legitimacy of political face serious challenges. The claims of universality of the developmental discourse are thus contested by claims of differentiated notions of development outcomes premised on politics of recognition as the route to development. Whether such differentiation significantly alters the meaning of both the goal and the process is yet to be debated earnestly. To conclude, we can say that in the initial years in 1980s, only Planning Commission was responsible for making policies in India. Policy as a process has been divided into two parts: policy formulation and policy implementation. Planning Commission in its initial years was actually dominated by the economists who used to play an important role in the entire formulation and implementation process. But gradually, because of strengthening of democracy, various other scholars have been successful in entering the policy making process of our country, such as sociology, psychologists and public administrators. Right now, because of the rise of regional parties, the policy making process has been politicized. The one thing which the policy making process has to answer is to keep a balance between the capitalist forces and fulfill the aspirations of the marginalized section of the Indian society. For this, it has been argued that the Panchayati Raj institutions and municipalities at the ground level should be strengthened, and 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act should be accurately implemented by the concerned authorities.